In life, we all carry burdens. But have you ever stopped to think, what if the heaviest thing you carry isn't in your hands but in your heart? Have you ever felt weighed down by regrets, past mistakes, or unhealed wounds? The moments you can't. Forget the pain that clings to you, even when the world around you seems at peace. For some of us, these invisible burdens are the hardest to put down. They follow us wherever we go, shaping our thoughts and actions, making us feel heavy, even when the world tells us we should be at rest. This is a story of a young monk who sought peace but found himself trapped by the weight of his own mind. He entered a monastery, hoping to escape his painful past, but still, something felt wrong. The peace he so desperately sought was elusive, slipping through his fingers as his mind constantly raced with thoughts of the past. He found problems everywhere, problems that didn't even exist, because he was carrying them in his heart, believing they were his burden to bear. One day, overwhelmed by the constant struggle within, the young monk approached his master, desperate for a solution. "Master, I can't find peace. My mind is filled with memories of my past. Every day I think about the mistakes I made, the regrets I carry, and I can't escape it. What should I do?" What happened next changed his life forever. The master listened quietly, his face calm as if he had known the young monk's pain for a long time. After a brief moment of silence, he smiled gently. "You seek peace, but you carry your past with you as if it's a part of you that can never be let go. The past, though it shapes us, does not need to control us, but you won't find peace until you release it." The young monk felt a flicker of hope in those words. Maybe this was the answer he had been searching for. But then the master's eyes shifted to the distant hills, and he spoke again. "I cannot give you the peace you seek, but I know someone who can. There is an old monk who lives atop that hill." He gestured to a peak far in the distance, shrouded in mist. "He left our monastery many years ago to meditate in solitude. He has found the answer to his own suffering. Go to him and you will find what you seek." The young monk's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the solution he had been searching for? Without hesitation, he stood up. "May I go now, master? I cannot wait any longer." The master nodded, his smile never fading. "Go. And remember, peace is not something you chase. It's something you allow yourself to embrace when you are ready." And so, with a heart full of anticipation, the young monk set off on his journey. As he walked away from the monastery, he felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. He believed that up in those hills, at the end of his journey, was the peace he had longed for. What he didn't know was that the path ahead was not just a physical journey, it was one that would change him forever. The journey to the hilltop was not an easy one. The young monk's heart, full of hope, gave him the strength to climb, but as he ascended the steep, uneven path, his body began to protest. The weight of the journey pressed against him. His legs burned with each step, and his breath grew short as he climbed higher and higher. But with each step he reminded himself, the peace he sought lay at the top of this mountain, with the old monk. The farther he went, the more the path seemed to challenge him. The air grew thinner, and the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the rugged landscape. But the young monk pressed on, driven by the belief that if he could just reach the top, everything would finally make sense. The climb became an internal battle. His mind, which had once been consumed by the weight of the past, now wrestled with the pain in his muscles, the fatigue in his bones. But he couldn't stop. Not now. Hours passed, and the once hopeful excitement of his journey began to fade into exhaustion. But still the peak seemed to elude him. Just as he thought he couldn't go any further, he saw it, an old hut perched at the summit, barely visible through the haze. His heart leaped. He was so close. With his last ounce of energy, the young monk finally reached the top, his body aching, his spirit drained. But as he arrived at the hut, he found the old monk sitting peacefully under a tree, meditating. The young monk collapsed onto the ground in front of him, barely able to speak. All he could manage was a bow. The old monk opened his eyes slowly, gazing at the young monk with a deep, calm understanding. There was no hurry, no judgment in his gaze, just pure presence. "Master," the young monk gasped, "I've come for your help. My mind is filled with painful memories. I can't forget the past, and it keeps tormenting me. What should I do to be free of it?" The old monk didn't speak immediately. Instead, he looked at the young monk with a knowing smile and said, "Come with me. We'll go to the village for lunch first. One of the villagers has invited us." Confused, but willing, the young monk followed the old monk, eager for the solution to his inner turmoil. Little did he know the answer would not come as he expected. As they began their descent from the hill, the young monk couldn't help but feel puzzled. Here he was, exhausted from his long climb, seeking answers to the deepest struggles of his heart, yet the old monk seemed unhurried, as if the journey itself was not important. They walked together in silence, the old monk leading the way with a calm, steady pace. When they reached the foot of the mountain, the old monk stopped and turned to face him. Without a word, he picked up a large, heavy stone and placed it in the young monk's hands. "Carry this with you," the old monk instructed, his voice as serene as ever. The young monk hesitated, surprised by the request. "Master, what is the meaning of this? I'm already exhausted from the climb, and now you ask me to carry this stone?" But the old monk's gaze was unwavering. "Carry it with you and you will understand." So, with no other choice, the young monk placed the stone on his shoulder and followed the old monk down the path towards the village. At first, he believed the stone might have some hidden significance. Maybe it was a test, or perhaps a physical burden that he had to endure to earn wisdom. But soon the weight of the stone began to wear him down. The more he carried it, the heavier it seemed to become. His arms grew tired and his legs wobbled under the strain. Sweat dripped from his brow as he struggled to keep up. As they walked, the young monk could feel every step becoming more laborious. The stone, once manageable, now seemed unbearable. Yet the old monk walked ahead effortlessly, as if he carried no burden at all. The young monk's frustration grew. He wanted to drop the stone and ask the old monk why he had to carry such a heavy load, but he remembered the master's calm voice telling him to carry it. He didn't want to appear weak, so he pressed on despite the pain. By the time they reached the village, the young monk was barely able to stand. His shoulders ached, his arms trembled, and his legs felt like they might give out at any moment. Sweat soaked his robes, and his breathing was labored as he set the stone down on the ground, feeling a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. He could barely hold himself upright. The old monk, however, remained as calm and composed as ever, sitting under a tree, waiting patiently. The young monk, gasping for breath, turned to the old monk and asked, his voice tinged with frustration, "Master, why did you make me carry this stone? It has made everything so much harder. I can barely stand now. What lesson should I have learned from this suffering?" The old monk looked at him with a gentle smile, his eyes full of understanding. "How was your journey, young one?" he asked, his voice soft. The young monk, still breathless, replied, "It was terrible. The stone was too heavy. Every step was painful. I struggled to keep moving. Why did you make me carry it?" The old monk nodded thoughtfully. "And yet you carried it the whole way. Why didn't you put it down?" The young monk was taken aback by the question. "But you told me to carry it. I thought it was part of the lesson. I thought I had to endure the pain." The old monk smiled, his eyes twinkling. "I told you to pick it up, but I never said you had to carry it all the way. The choice to carry it was yours. You could have let it go at any time, but you chose to carry it, believing that the pain was necessary. In the same way, you have been carrying the pain of your past, your regrets, your memories, believing that it is something you must endure forever." The young monk froze, the realization slowly dawning on him. It wasn't the stone that had been heavy, it was his choice to carry it. Just as he had the power to set the stone down, he could also choose to release the burdens of his past.